then quantities. This is where it gets a little bit more detailed and more specific with which goal you've chosen. So the amount we eat affects our energy, and it also changes our body composition. So I've made a little scale on the left there to help you understand what the difference is between all of these points. So if you remember back to the goals, we have lifestyle in the middle here. This is to help you maintain your body composition and focus on your healthy habits. And there's a bit of a variety here, a bit of a range here, that is your maintenance calories. So remember from the introductory guide, calories are how we measure energy and how we measure quantity. And if you're eating around your maintenance level, you should be hitting lifestyle. So your body fat shouldn't change too much, your body weight shouldn't change too much, but it'll help you to maintain a nice, healthy balance. Now, if you're wanting to focus on muscle gain, you will need to eat what's called a calorie surplus, so slightly more calories than your maintenance. Now, in this range here, you'll probably build muscle and see some strength and power gains, which is great. So you'll see that shape and that definition, put on some muscle and see some more shape. But we do have a limit. If it's too much, you may start seeing some excess fat gain, which is not great. It's not super healthy for us. And it also makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable in your body. Well, me personally, I think that will make me feel a little bit uncomfortable in my body. But of course, we're about a healthy attitude towards all this. So there is a spectrum and a range. So if you are aiming for muscle gain, you want to hover around this surplus, which is about a 10% surplus. Now, if it's a deficit for fat loss, if we're hovering around this spectrum here, you should see some reduction in your body fat without too much negative changes in your health and well-being. And that's about a 10 to 20% deficit, depending, because our bodies tend to like to store fat a little bit easier than they lose fat. Sometimes a little bit more of an aggressive deficit may be necessary, but you can talk to me about this if you need a little bit more help. But we don't want to eat too little, because then we're going to start ending up in this excess deficit zone. Now, this often, you might see some body fat reduction for a while, and then you'll start seeing some negative metabolic adaptation, which is where your body is trying to avoid losing too much body fat for survival, which is really important for our health and well-being. You may find your energy will get really low, you'll feel really hungry and tired and moody, and you may see some nutritional deficiencies and hormonal problems start to arise, which we want to avoid for female health and well-being and your mental health and well-being. So we don't want to eat too little. That's why I'm aiming to educate you girls on when you're aiming for fat loss, you want to stay in just a mild deficit and to focus on what is sustainable for you, then coming back to maintenance and lifestyle, okay? So there is more detail in this in our nutrition guide and our goal setting guide, but we'll go through what you're aiming for today so you can be aware of what to feel, of what to focus on. But hopefully that gives you a little bit of clarity onto what you're aiming for with your goal wise and how it affects how much you eat. Now, the way we decide how much we're eating is you can either track your food, so we can have a look at it. We need to be accountable and track it somewhere, either in a food diary. So this is a visual representation of what you're eating. So you can photograph and track your food based on our balanced meal guides that is in the Munch guide attached. Or you can get really detailed with Myfitnesspal, which is a great app to focus on your intake. So we want to try and track our food daily over the challenge just to see what we're eating. And again, we're focusing on just a healthy awareness of our food. We're not aiming to overly restrict or be really critical about our food. This is about awareness and being knowing where we're at. So one way we can do it is to actually add the food diary. So this is how you can add it to your app. One way you can track your food intake is with a food diary with meal photos. So this is really good because it's in the app and it's a great way to stay accountable whilst not being as detailed as tracking on Myfitnesspal. So what you can do to set up your meal photos is go into the More section of your app, which is the 3 dots on the right-hand side there. Then just scroll down to your settings and you need to set it up in the meal tracker section. So you click on it and then click in this app and then meal photos, and that will set it up so that it's ready to go. Now to track your meal photos, you can go back to your calendar page and either click on today or you can click the big blue plus button, and there's a meal section which will open up the little app for the food photos. So you can either do a photo here and there, or you can click on the photos if you've selected one from earlier, like I went out for brunch today, so I'm going to use that. So you can choose that, and then you can write down some notes about it, whether it was for your breakfast, lunch, or your dinner. or snacks. So snacks, you can add unlimited photos and foods, but for breakfast, lunch, dinner, it will just let you do one. So you can write in there what you had, etc. And then you can save it and it'll save the meal. What's really cool about this is if you do save things longer term, it will actually save it for you in the database. So if you want to add a meal and it's just something that you have daily, on this right hand side here where the little clock is, you'll have like your saved photos. So here, obviously I've only tracked the breakfast in here, so you can click that, but then you can have all your snacks and regular stuff that you use as well. So that's pretty cool. It's a great way to stay accountable without being in too much detail with your nutrition. So you're still getting your accountability with, are you getting your balanced meals in? Are you getting your regular meals in? But not going into the full tracking with calories and macros. So see how you go with that, and then we'll set you up. So that is how you set up your meal photo diary. Again, as I said in the video, it's a great way to be accountable, but not too detailed with what you're eating in regards to calories and macronutrients. But this is going to get you good awareness on eating balanced meals per day and get your quality of your nutrition up nice and high. Now, here's how to set up your Myfitnesspal in the app, and also how I recommend getting your goals sorted for Myfitnesspal. If you're wanting to be more detailed with your nutrition tracking, I'd recommend using Myfitnesspal. Now, the first thing you need to do is set up an actual goal. I don't actually recommend using Myfitnesspal's way of figuring it out because they tend to do it a little bit low if your goal is fat loss. So instead, I recommend using this website here. So the link is in the description of this video. So what you do is you go down and you just use this calculator to figure out your goals. So I'll type in my stats. You will need to know your weight and height just to make sure that you have accurate data. And you need to add in your activity levels. And what will happen is you can calculate your goals. So I usually start with your maintenance and just seeing what that is per day. And this will give you a good little breakdown that you can put into Myfitnesspal to make sure that your goals are a little bit more accurate. So if your goal is maintenance or lifestyle, you can click on maintain. That will give you a good reading. If you want to do a deficit, I recommend choosing this lose 10% option. That will give you a deficit number. But if you're in a surplus, you'll click the one on the right there and that will give you a surplus number. So this will give you a nice, really good target for you to hit. So once you've hit that, make sure you remember it or screenshot it, obviously, and then you can actually input it into Myfitnesspal. So to change your goals, you just hit the more, which is the button down the bottom right there, then hit goals, and then there's a calorie, carbs, protein, and fat goals, which you can place in there. So the most important thing is to just write in the calorie goal at the top there to make sure that you've got an overall number to aim for. And then I distribute the ratio at about 40-30-30, so 40% carbs, 30% protein, 30% fat for most of you, just to keep it simple. We're not going into too much detail with your macronutrients because hitting your balanced meals will help make sure that you've got a balance of protein, carbs, and fats per day. But you can pop that number in, which is whatever your goal is, and then that will save onto the diary so you can actually track your nutrition. And then you can go ahead and start adding in food to your daily basis. So you can just click add food and then search for something that you had that day. Just search for a type of food. So as time goes on, you will add a little bit of a database to Myfitnesspal. So you see when I said add food, there's lots of my foods that I eat quite frequently just sitting there in the history. This makes it a lot easier to go find your nutrition. And this will give you a really awesome overview of your food. Now you can sync Myfitnesspal over to the app, so you're going to get lots of data over there for me to have a look at or for you to have a look at. And that's what makes it really awesome. So that's how you set up your Myfitnesspal with good goals based on your daily intake. Right, so that is how you set up your Myfitnesspal with some solid goals. The website I recommend is healthyeater.com. They have a really good estimation for their calculator. I really enjoy using them and find it quite accurate. So that's where you can go. Otherwise, if you need help, obviously just come and talk to me and I can help calculate your goals for you and figure out if they are right for you. So aim for daily tracking if you're using Myfitnesspal so you can get lots of data, and this syncs across to the app. So in the next video, I'll show you how to sync it to your Powherful app. The second option for tracking your daily intake is with Myfitnesspal. So this is a little bit more accurate because you can track some more data. You can track your calories, your macronutrients, and all the individual food items in detail. So it's really good for being accountable with your food. Now, to sync Myfitnesspal to your app, you just have to head to the More section, which is the 3 dots on the right-hand side, and then scroll down to connect your Myfitnesspal. So you'll have to actually connect it by logging in and then turning on your syncing. And once it's authorized, that will sync into your app. So once it's synced, it will sync over to your app. Now, so when you're wanting to actually track your food, you can go to the calendar page and you can add your Myfitnesspal. So if you click on meal, it will sync over to it will go over to Myfitnesspal. And then when you're logging in there, it will show up on your app, like so. Now, for a full guide of how to work Myfitnesspal, I've saved that on your information page. So you can go and find that if you want a little bit more detail about how to actually use it. But it's a great way to stay accountable to your food.